Hello and welcome to Real Opinions. Today I'm going to be reviewing Moana, the new film from Disney. So, this film tells the story of Moana, who's the daughter and heir of a chief on a small Polynesian island. And basically, it tells the story of how she wants to go out on an adventure out at sea where she's not allowed to go, where she's forbidden from going, how she wants to kind of throw away her future as the kind of the next in line as chief on this island so that she can pursue this adventure that her grandmother's always told her about. She wants to go and find this guy called Maui, who is a demigod that exists in their legends, because apparently Maui once upon a time stole from this island goddess, and because of that many of the islands are now suffering, and so she wants to kind of go on a quest to restore this thing that's been stolen from the goddess, go find Maui, force him to restore this, and basically save the world. And so her father's like, no, you gotta stay on this island because out at sea is dangerous. His brother died on a mission out at sea, so he's very much like, no, you stay here, you're going to become chief one day, like me, you're going to follow in my footsteps, which is all very standard Disney stuff, but she defies these orders and she goes out to sea to go on her quest. Very standard Disney stuff, which might sound like I'm damning it with faint praise, because recently we had Zootopia, which blew me away because it was basically LA Confidential with animals, and I was like, whoa, I did not see this coming. And whilst I quite liked Frozen, generally I don't like the sort of traditional fairy tale-y, princessy stuff from Disney. Frozen got away with it because I think, for me, Frozen defied a lot of the conventions of the genre, the conventions that bother me. So Moana is much more basic Disney. Having said that, it's really good basic Disney. This is a film that has almost everything that you want from an animated film. I mean, it looks stunning. I can't emphasize this enough. I say this almost every single time I see an animated film now, but this time it really is warranted. This is the best water I have ever seen in a film in terms of animated water. It is unbelievable. And I know I say this every time I see an animated film. I go, wow, that water was amazing, but here it is stunning. And so are many of the environments. And I thought that this film did a lot of kind of photorealistic things that I wouldn't normally expect from animated films in terms of the environment, and they looked gorgeous. The way that certain particle effects work and certain things react to, say, like water getting wet or to dust or to sand, the way that those things impact other items that are animated is amazing too. So there's lots of really great detail. It's not just the photorealistic nature of the animation though, like, as well as that, the characters are well designed. It's got energy and vibrancy and colour, and they do a lot of creative things. There's a character, Maui, who is played by The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, whatever he likes to be called now, who has tattoos, but the tattoos are also characters that animate and move around and do crazy things. And there's the water. The ocean itself is a character in this film, and they find really great ways to characterize it, to give it motion, to give it movement, to give it personality through the animation. So in terms of animation, I really think this is a 10 out of 10 film. It's beautiful, it's creative, it's at times photorealistic, it's colourful, it's always engaging. There are even moments where it kind of goes a bit darker, the colours kind of fade a little, but by this film's standards, faded colours are what most films' normal colours are. It's so beautiful, and just almost any frame could be just taken and put up as a painting. The way that the sky and the stars are animated, all of these environmental things, I think, were the things that impressed me the most. The water, the sky, the sand, the way things react to the wind. It's all very well researched and detailed. And again, the way that light kind of plays off things, it feels very realistic. Not just in terms of the quality of the animation, but in the kind of way that things affect these things. It feels very much like they probably had a team of people just sat around watching how grass reacts to different kind of circumstances. So yeah, beautiful, top quality animation, but that's not everything. The characters are great. I loved the characters. I thought Moana was in many ways one of the best princess figures. I know she's not a princess, but that I've ever seen in a Disney film. I actually thought that she was better than either of the protagonists from Frozen in terms of like her strength. She was funny, she was determined, she was like likable, and you could root for her. She had clear motivations that I understood. And as well as that, you know how people get nowadays, the Max Land Candace parrots with Mary Sue complaints. She's too strong. She's weak and vulnerable when she needs to be as well, and she has to accept quite a lot of help on her adventure, but she still has these moments where she gets to be heroic and she gets to drive the narrative. So I thought they did a really good job with her character. Maui, who's played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I still don't know what to call him. He's a great character. He's this pompous, arrogant, egotistical like hero who assumes that everyone worships him as much as he worships himself. He's a lot of fun, and their dynamic and their relationship really is well written, because it's one of, again, much like a lot of the things in this film, it's very much in line with other Disney tropes. It's basically these two characters hate each other, but they've got to go on a journey, and sure enough, they're gonna bond, and they're gonna kind of teach each other things. You know, very standard dynamic, but it's done really, really, really well. All the characters are great. The grandmother character is one that I had quite a weird emotional engagement with. Like, I genuinely got quite attached to that character, considering that she had very, very little screen time. And even the animal sidekicks, who feel like they could easily be, well, they're obviously, in fact, it's there to sell toys. I don't care. They're really likable. In particular, there is this chicken character. And the joke surrounding this chicken is essentially that it is mentally retarded. That's the one note joke about this chicken, but it is so funny. And everyone in the cinema would just like burst into laughter every time this chicken did something, because it was genuinely one joke repeated over and over again. And I did think they kind of played it maybe 2 times, but 80% of the time it had me laughing really, really hard, because it's a retarded chicken. Loved the chicken, and it's voiced by Alan Tudyk, who, I mean, must be the most bizarre credit on his IMDb, because he just clucks. I just assumed they were actual chicken noises. So yeah, all the characters are great. The animation is stunning. The story follows very conventional ideas, but it does it in a way that feels fun, uplifting, engaging. The songs, I loved the songs. In fact, I would have to say, I think I would actually go out on a limb and say I preferred the songs here on average to the songs in Frozen. People know that I really like Frozen, but for me, the songs here were of a more consistent quality. They worked really well with the narrative. They worked really well to tell you about the characters. There's one song that they're obviously pitching as the next Let It Go. It's Moana's kind of power ballad, and they play it throughout the film. It reprises many times. And on one hand, I felt like that was a little bit cynical, because it was basically just like, we're going to get this in your head so that you'll buy it. So we'll play it as many times as we can throughout the film. But as an emotional device, I felt it really worked. I felt it really helped to chart her character arc, and I'm going to be honest, it really worked for me. It might be cynical, but in terms of pure effect, I thought it worked. And the score is also great. Loved the score. Probably my favourite film score of the year so far. Which isn't saying much, because I think this year's actually been a bit kind of substandard for scores, but TV's done a lot of great stuff. But yeah, all the music's great. In particular, for me, I loved the song by Jermaine Clement. He has like the villainous song, and he kind of channels David Bowie. It's this weird kind of villainous character that is also kind of peacocking and singing about how shiny he is, and I loved that song. I loved all the songs. I genuinely felt like this had emotional power. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was funny. The chicken is great. I can't stress enough how great the chicken is. There's very little to complain about. If I had any kind of criticisms, I think it would be that about 3/4, also known as 3/4, through the movie, they kind of arrive at the final boss, as it were, and it feels a bit like they kind of didn't want to end the movie yet, so something kind of just happens. We go into a bit more talking, and then they have another go, and it feels like towards the end they were kind of they couldn't really figure out exactly how this final confrontation would go down, because like I said, it stops and starts, and then it turns into a very video game boss fight. Like, we say this all the time, like, oh, it looks like a video game, but here, I mean, literally the way that they fight the final enemy is by dodging his attacks so that he keeps repeatedly doing something that hurts himself, and that is just like classic Crash Bandicoot. Like, dodge his attacks so that he ends up hurting himself, and rinse and repeat over and over again. So I thought that was a bit strange, and generally as well, that this antagonist does not get built up much at all. It's the villain problem. It's the modern day villain problem, as always. Which is a shame, because throughout there are secondary antagonists that I really liked. As I mentioned, there's Jermaine Clement's character, who I liked very much. He was very very funny villain, and then there are these really great pirates who are like coconuts that like draw their emotions on their faces. They were great, and they had this amazing boat chase that was like Fury Road. It, like, honestly, if you see the film, this might sound bizarre, but if you see the film, when it gets to the pirate chase, just try and think of Fury Road, and you might see what I mean, because it really did remind me. The action sequences, that's another thing I didn't mention. The action sequences are really exciting. They're some of the best I've seen all year. Honestly, I really loved this film. I was actually kind of surprised. I was almost a tad embarrassed. And it opens with a short, as all these Disney films do, and the short was really great too. Moana is one of my favourite films of the year for definite. I didn't quite like it as much as Zootopia, but Zootopia really surprised me. I would say I liked it more than Frozen. I would say I liked it more than Tangled. I would say I liked it more than Big Hero 6. I would say I liked it more than, what was the other one? Wreck-It Ralph. All those recent Disney movies, they're doing quite well recently, but this one was one of my favourites, and I really, really recommend it. It's, if nothing else, you'll have those songs in your head for long after. I'm giving this one a very, very high 9 out of 10. Thank you for listening, and keep looking on the channel for more stuff. I don't know, I can't do these sign-offs.